with Auburn and Oregon last night. You know, they wait so long to play this game.
Yeah, they do.
So it takes a little while to sort of get revved up, and I think it took the teams a little time to get going last night. The over-under on last night's game was 73 points. So certainly I do not think too many people saw 22-19 on the horizon. But both teams left points on the field. Both teams got stopped on the 1-yard line in separate situations. Both quarterbacks looked a little sloppy early, bad interceptions, bad mistakes. Neither offense was really humming along. I told you I thought the monthly off would really hurt Oregon, and I believe that it did. But at the end of the day, Auburn, as the SEC teams tend to be, a little bigger, a little more physical. Cam Newton made enough plays, and Auburn gets the field goal at the end to win it.
Yeah, I tell you, it certainly, like I said, wasn't the barn burner everybody thought points-wise, but it certainly got that way toward the end of the game. A scoreless first quarter. Not a lot of people expected that, and you're right. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt there's going to be some rust on some teams when you're taking that much time off. But I tell you what, you thought the Oregon offense would start to get in a groove, and the reason they did it is because of the Auburn defense. Nick Fairley, that D tackle, and that group of Auburn defenders did a great job stopping the Oregon Ducks running attack, a rushing attack that had never been held under 100 yards all year. They had 75. Their lowest had been 125 yards against Arizona State. They kept trying to go up the middle, and they kept getting stuffed. LaMichael James had 49 yards in this game. I mean, they did a fantastic job when they tried to go wide, when they tried to go up the gut. Auburn was there to stop them. But the game was so much fun to watch because you were just waiting for that big play, waiting for the big play. You know, and would it come? It comes from in the second quarter when Jeff Mayo takes a pass from Darren Thomas and goes 81 yards. You know, the second longest play ever.
From his own end zone. From his own end zone. From their own end zone.
I'm watching that game, and there they are, you know, right inside, obviously, close to the goal line. And I was sitting at home with Mike and Jake and my wife and daughter, and we're all watching. I said, well, this means nothing to Oregon, where they start. Sure enough, there's the pass down the middle of the field for 81 yards, and all of a sudden they're at Auburn's end. But the mistakes were early. The two Darren Thomas picks, one a tip off a receiver's hand, not his fault. The other, a bad decision down at the 14-yard line. Should have taken the sack from Fairley, but he threw it, and it was a pick. Cam Newton's interception was a bad throw. But these guys would go back and forth, making up for things at times, and just turned out to be just a fantastic game. Loved the ending. All of a sudden, you know, you get into the end of the game, and with under 5 minutes to go, that's when all the action happened. You know, here's Auburn trying to protect their 19-11 lead, and there's a Matthews making it not happen. Casey Matthews, brother of Clay Matthews, who's the standout defensive player for the Green Bay Packers, he strips Cam Newton of the ball. Oregon recovers. Subsequently, they go down and score, get the two-point conversion, and tie it up. And then you have what will be considered the controversial play of the game when Dyer, the running back for Auburn, the freshman who was the MVP of the game with 143 yards, has a 37-yard run, but it looks like he's down. The defender pulls him on top of him. It looks like he's down. Everybody stops. Dyer happened to be running toward the Auburn sideline. The sideline is yelling for him to keep running. So while everybody stops, he keeps running. 37 yards later, they're deep into the territory of Oregon, you know, getting ready to set up for the game-winning field goal. So
I'm not crazy about that rule, to be honest with you.
I'm not either.
By every definition, he's tackled.
Yeah.
He's down. His hands are down.
He's pulled down. His hand hits the ground, the palm of his hand. Now, if his forearm or wrist hit the ground, he would have been down. But it doesn't look like it did. His knee definitely never hit the ground. I'm not a fan of it either. He's laying on the defender. The defender's part of the ground. That's kind of been my thought. It's a shame a game like this goes down to basically this play. Now, again, Auburn is driving. You never know where they're going to get up and drive.
No, but that play puts them in field goal range.
Puts them in close field goal range, and then Dyer rips off another 16-yarder to the 1-yard line to where it's a chip shot. But, again, everybody on the field stopped. The sidelines yelling, even Dyer. Then the sidelines yelling for Dyer to run, and it was kind of a weird play. But you know what? Congrats to Auburn. They stopped that mighty Oregon offense that has just been a machine all year long. Cam Newton got upstaged by Dyer, the running back, who again got the MVP award. And congratulations to them, their first national championship since 1957.
Newton was banged up in the game as well. He seemed all right, but he did not seem like himself in this game. And, you know, for those of you who are watching, as sometimes I am, because you want to see some of these players we'll be watching on Sundays, particularly Newton, who obviously was the eye of the hurricane all year long in college football, he did not have a great night. This was not a vintage night. I was sort of hoping for rooting for and on some level expecting, to see one guy just take over a game, and he didn't do it. He wound up throwing for over 250 yards, did not run the ball particularly well on the night or much. Again, I think he hurt his back during the game.
Yeah.
So it was not let's put it this way. If you watched him play this year, you've seen him look a lot better than you saw last night.
There wasn't a lot of wow factor. Now, Darren Thomas the quarterback for Oregon, did throw for 363, too short of Matt Leinert's BCS championship game record, but they didn't go vertical. It seems odd to say that they didn't go vertical enough. They had the long one, 81 yards, but there was a lot of horizontal passing to try and let, the receivers get the yards. The best player on the field last night? Nick Fairley, the defensive tackle, who I thought, with the way Oregon ran their plays, they had worked on bringing in their second unit. They got caught for too many men on the field one time, when Oregon kept that offense going, and you thought that defense would wear down. Nick Fairley was unbelievable.
Let's hear what you were saying about last night's championship game goal. Like I set aside a couple of notes here. There were a lot like these, and you tell me how we're supposed to put these into perspective. Aaron writes, this was a terrible thing for college football. When Auburn can pay for a player, then go win the championship, it taints the whole system. And with the rumors of all the money that was offered, you can't deny that Auburn paid to get him. The point is that this cloud, for whatever it was and whatever it was worth, will sort of hover over this.
Yeah, it will.
For some undetermined period of time. Now, you know me, if you listen to the show, it doesn't bother me. But it's going to bother a lot of other people, I would think.
And it depends, how deep will this investigation go? Will they keep digging into it? Like with Reggie Bush, it took, 4 or 5 years for this situation. Yeah, I've seen emails already saying, boy, what a great job for Auburn in the national championship. Won't it be a shame when it'll be vacated and Cam Newton's giving back his Heisman in another year or two? I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know, how deep this investigation is going to continue to go. I do know I am a little surprised that the father was found to have asked for money and the kid wasn't held responsible. That was a little surprising to me. To me, that opens up a whole lot of – I know you and I are different on it, but let's talk about the rules that are in place. To me, that opens up a whole lot of loopholes for those that want to get around it, to say, yeah, the family member knew and the kid had no idea. So we'll see where that goes and what happens there. Auburn played with the way they were going to play. They were told he was eligible, he's going to play. I mean, they're not going to do anything different about it. But now I'm sure for the next year or two, if there is still an investigation, that, some Auburn fans and Auburn administration will be holding their breath a little bit to see what happens.
As far as the run, for those of you who didn't watch the game, one of the big plays in the game is a run by Michael Dyer. He winds up taking it 37 yards and puts Auburn in position for ultimately the game-winning field goal. Now, he later had another run down to the 1-yard line. But the really big play, the one that puts them into field goal range, is a 37-yard run where he appears to be tackled. He rolls over, lands on top of the defender. Everybody stops.
Right.
But he wasn't down, so he keeps running. And Bob is one of the many who writes, to say this is a bad call, I would have to disagree with you. He is misinterpreting what we said, or we didn't do a good job of saying what we said.
Right.
The rule was correctly applied.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I do not like the rule.
That's what we're saying.
And here's the best way you can say it. If you watch this play, the running back stops.
Yeah.
He thinks he's tackled.
Right.
If you tackle me, I'm the one who knows if I'm tackled.
Right.
Now, again, by the letter of the law, if his hand touches the ground, but his forearm and his wrist don't touch the ground, and his body is actually not touching the ground because it is lying on top of the defensive player, by rule, he's not down.
He's not down.
But to me, in spirit, he has been tackled.
They called it correctly. They absolutely called it correctly, but I'm not a fan of it. At times they say the player is part of the ground. Well, the defender's on the ground and the guy's laying on top of him. To me, it was just a shame that this was one of the biggest plays in the game that put them in very good field goal position. Again, maybe they would have driven down and gotten themselves in great field goal position. Maybe. We don't know. But to me, I was a little bummed that it happened this way.
Well,
that put him in easy field goal position.
And something a lot of people are bringing up, and I think they're right. There is a huge Oregon defensive tackle standing right next to him.
Oh yeah.
When he pops up, number 99.
Yep.
If that guy, if the second he pops up, that guy just takes his head off.
Yep.
He's going to get a 15-yard personal foul if the whistle has blown. If the play is actually, he can't just tackle him right there. Because if everyone thinks the play is over.
Well, but here's the difference. Everyone can think the play's over, but the whistle didn't blow, so he wouldn't have been flagged.
Do you always hear the whistle?
Oh yeah.
You do.
Crowd
noise, everything else. There's no question you hear the whistle.
He wouldn't have been flagged. Nobody blew the whistle.